today to do this about Bolt. Who has signed up for Bolt? Okay. So Bold is starting October 16th. Is that correct? It's every Monday and it's in Vaughan. It is, I believe we are coming up with some sort of financing plan for it.
Yeah.
It's $1,200 Canadian. And so that everyone in the office is Bold right now. And I brought my Bold things. And the reason I did that is because in 2020 I took Bold. And in 2020, prior to that, I was only doing 2 deals, 3 deals a year, maybe 4. And then 2 years later now, after doing that and it helping with confidence, I was in the top 5 for teams. So as much as Bold has like great lessons and great teaching and all of that stuff, for the biggest thing that Bold did for me was help me with my confidence and to talk to people and be comfortable talking to people. I get nervous all the time, and some people probably know. So doing Bold helped with that, and it's something that I would really encourage everybody to do. It seems like a lot of money at first, but I'll tell you, at the time when I was signing up for it, and I was really unsure about whether or not I would have wanted to spend that money, like it made up for it.
Yeah.
And I'm sure Dave can.
I feel the exact same way.
Yeah.
So I've done Bold a couple times. I started real estate in halfway through 2016, so I missed the best part of the market in 2016. And I took Bold over the winter between 2016 and 2017. And it really helped rocket me to an amazing first full year with the accountability, meeting people, because I had no real estate experience really besides buying a house before that. And I'm someone who I'm a kind of a natural salesperson and I have sales experience. But KW provided the systems and the training that were very, very helpful to kind of finish off or make me more well-rounded. Not finished off. I've never finished on that. Always working on things. But I found Bold to be amazing for the accountability. If you don't love, training courses or things like that, Bold is more exciting, more fun than most sales training courses and courses in general. But even if it's good medicine either way, because there's some work that you need to do when you're in it, but that work is all about your business and about developing yourself. And you will have a better year if you do Bold. There's no doubt about it. It cannot hurt you in any way. It can only make you much better.
It really does pay for itself.
Absolutely. It will pay for itself probably before the course is over.
Yeah, I would say so. And then to lead from the impact of Bold and Dave talking about just coming into his business, can you tell us about your business?
Okay, so I am the team lead for the Muskoka Group, which is let's call it a boutique real estate team based in Bracebridge, Muskoka, which is where I've lived for the last 20 plus years with my wife and kids. I'm married to Lisa for almost 25 years now. We've got a 19-year-old son and a 17-year-old daughter who's getting her wisdom teeth out right now. All 4 of them. Great. Yeah, that'll be a ton of fun. So milkshakes. So I started real estate in mid 2016, and coming from a bit of a sales background and self-employment, always wanted to do it, but age and stage, just financial stability, didn't do it when I was a little younger. I'm 47 now, so I'm not old, but I'm not a spring chicken anymore. In the first 3 years, I think I was the #1 individual agent here in this office. And then I was the #1 individual agent until we started the team, and then you're not an individual agent anymore. And the team has done well. I've got 2 agents that work with me: Shannon Donnelly, who was on ALC last year, and Leanne Brooks, who's been kind of with us since we started the team. My wife works in the business as well as our office manager. She's well beyond an admin. She does kind of everything. It's an amazing skill set. I don't always recommend working with your spouse, and she would agree. In our first year where she worked with me, she quit like every week. And she would walk out and leave our home office.
Yeah, the front end of that Dave after that car, I think you went down to or maybe Ken.
I went to
recommended, don't ever get it.
So I went to Family Reunion, and I recommend Family Reunion if you can as well. I went to Family Reunion every year until COVID, and I likely will be back this year at Vegas. But at Family Reunion, I went to one of the admin breakouts where they talk about hiring. Your first hire should be an admin. And Monica Reynolds, who's like the super admin lady, who's hired and fired a million admins and wrote a book about it and had a course about it. I got to talk to her personally. I put up my hand during this breakout where there's hundreds of people and said, what about working, with your spouse in the business? And she gave kind of a generic answer. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but I don't recommend it. And then afterwards, she came up to me and we talked it out a little bit. And all these other realtors and admins came up, and some of them were like, I've worked with my husband or I've worked with my wife for 30 years and it's the best thing ever. And other people were like, don't you do it. Don't do it. If you want to stay married for the love of God, that kind of thing. And we hashed it out. Monica Reynolds is like, you can give it a go, but you just have to be able to set a time and figure out if it's going to work. And then you talk about it ahead of time. So for us, it's worked out very well, but we've had the boundaries and all that stuff. And we had a home office. It was crazy. So the business has grown. We are not working at surviving. We are definitely thriving, trying to figure out where we're going to go longer term. If we're going to build a bigger team, how we're going to keep things going in the shift. Because there's I work in Muskoka exclusively. I don't work down here. I don't work in Barrie or Aurelia. I don't even think we've done. Maybe we did one deal in Aurelia, one of my teammates with the buyer, but we try and stay above the Severn River so that we're not really competing with the people who are in the office here, and which makes it's great. We can have a great referral relationship. About half the business is residential, half the business is recreational, and then there's some vacant land and some stuff mixed in there. I've got some niche customers that are up in like north of Huntsville, in Kearney and Berks Falls area, and some of those small lakes that I used to do a lot of construction work up there. So I have these clients that make me drive really far, but it's worthwhile. And I really know the area very well. So we pride ourselves on being local experts in Muskoka. We're really good with waterfront properties and hunt camps and of course straight up residential stuff as well. So that's where we've cut our teeth, and I love being in real estate. I just love it. So any questions about that? We'll get going. If you don't mind, can you just quickly we'll go from you over, and just if everyone could just say their name so that we all know who each other are.
Sure. My name is Giovanna.
Giovanna. Okay. Rodrigo.
Stephanie.
Allison.
Dan. Brennan.
Sarah.
Dave.
Tara.
Tara. Okay. Put up your hand if you've been in real estate longer than 10 years. Okay. Longer than 5 years. Okay. 4, 3, 2, 1. And shiny brand new. Perfect view. So that's a really nice cross section of the office actually to have in here. So now, Sarah, were you going to introduce the shift or no?
You can
Okay.
go right into it if you want.
Okay. So who here thinks we're in a shift or we're going through a market shift? Anyone? If you don't think we're in a shift, then I don't know why you're here. Maybe for my shiny hand. So today we're going to cover how to set a realistic mindset through the market and clarify that. I'm going to stop reading this. So we're going to start with get real, get right. These are the shift strategies. This is the course that's being offered through the brokerage here. This is designed to help us thrive during the shift. The shift is a major change in the market. I think we can all agree during COVID, we had a crazy, very different market. Does anyone, that's not the case? Okay. Does anyone feel like it's different now?
Yeah.
Okay. So give me a few examples of what's different.
Buyer uncertainty.
Buyer uncertainty. So we're starting with number 1. And well, all these things, actually, 1, 2, and 3. Tell me about what's happening right now in the market here in Barrie and Aurelia.
So there's a lot of sellers that are still buying in the pre-COVID days. I find when you're talking to them, their expectations are disconnected from what reality is.
Okay. In what way?
Overpricing.
Yeah. So they're like, my neighbor's place sold for this a year ago. mine's worth more, or we should do this. Okay.
The neighbor's place sold that in 2020 during the height of things.
Yeah.
Why are you telling me my place, which I think is better, is worth less?
Right. Yes, it is. That's right.
Well, the financing, the affordability is depleted as well. And so on that note, they also need more to actually make the purchase possible.
Yeah.
So I feel like a lot of people, unless there's a high level of motivation, they can't make that shift.
Mhm.
They're not selling to trade up a higher interest rate mortgage.
Mhm.
And because the prices are so inflated like they have been in the last couple of years, fewer people, I'm finding anyway, are just like, yeah, sure, let's sell whatever. I'm gonna make bank and head out east.
I'm heading east. I'm heading north. And,
East,
Where the
north.
moon.
I'm going somewhere cheaper. I'm gonna retire early. Like that's just not happening. Like so that market is largely disappearing.
Okay. So where we are in Muskoka, and this, you're gonna have a very similar story in a lot of ways. Like during COVID, we had unlimited buyers. I would say you could throw a rock and it would bounce off 5 buyers before it hits the buyer that you're trying to hit with a rock. Because of the low interest rates, there were so many more qualified buyers. So you had all these people who were climbing, like clambering over each other, like zombies trying to get over a city wall to buy a property. You know? That's how. I used that description a few times related to like waterfront, like inexpensive waterfront. There would people just be lining up. They would be putting offers sight unseen. You might have represented people who were putting in offers on places like that in my neck of the woods or in neighboring areas. And they're just all gone. Those buyers are all gone. The ones who were fully capable, they bought. And the ones who were barely capable of buying, they no longer can afford to buy. And a lot of them have lost their taste for it. They're putting their money in other countries and other provinces. So we have gone from an extreme seller's market, where I am, to a borderline, if not a complete buyer's market for certain types of properties. So that is an amazing shift over the course of basically a year, maybe a year and a half, arguably. So if you don't have anything more to add about the signs of the shift, go ahead.
I've seen on some of my listings, the amount of showings are down.
Sure. So there's the listings that are out there, they're sitting. Some of them may seem to be priced well, and they're still not selling. I've had 4 listings this year that are probably, well, one of them's probably going to expire at the end of this month and not sell. I think the price is fine on it. There's just not a buyer for it. They may continue listing it through the winter, which is not a great idea in our market. But 2 years ago, if I told you there was going to be, I might have 4 or 5 listings in the season that just with the proper price adjustments or price reductions, they still weren't going to sell. I would have said, what happened? Like what, there must have been a major shift, right? So that's definitely the case. Number 4, how is this making you feel?
Gotta work a lot harder.
Yeah, you got to work a lot harder. So that's true. But I think the working hard part is, what are you going to work at? Because you could work hard digging a hole straight down, but it's not going to get you where you want to go, probably, unless you're aiming for China. And I'm pretty sure you can't actually get there. Bugs Bunny's wrong about that. How's it making you feel?
We're all friends. Yeah. I think I get disenchanted with the process, because the process generally was fairly predictable. Do this long enough, followed up by this and that, and this happens, right? And now it's like you could be with the buyer, be with the seller, correctly price, whatever, and this isn't happening. So I don't know what the term is, how I feel, but with the whole process, I have to protect myself from feeling disenfranchised or disenchanted with, or try not to get down, because right, it's so easy, because the results, like you say, you work twice as hard for probably half the result. And if half the result doesn't, pay the bills or keep you up to where you need to be, right? And I've been hearing from so many realtors, they're just like looking for other jobs. Actually, I was talking to a broker at C21 this morning at an event. And she's like, yeah, we've got like really stressed out agents who are looking for other jobs.
Century 21 has, their agents are down, like they're only at 60% of their sales this time of the year compared to last year, and many of their agents, especially in the end of the fiscal year.
Yeah. Wow. This was the one drill she landed with her office. So they had a few, so it's not the BJ Roth one, but still, yeah.
That's BJ Roth's stats.
Yeah.
They had their meeting earlier. That's, I think,
I keep looking up this.
So you're hearing that stuff. Some of us are experiencing that stuff. We don't need to dwell too much about how you're feeling. You're not here because hopefully you're not here because you're absolutely terrified and I'm going to write you a check or something like that. Maybe much. But there are some things certainly that we can work at, and the first part today is we're going to talk about mindset and about identifying and being okay with the fact that there's a shift, because the reality is history repeats itself. It's not the first time in real estate that professionals have been in this position. I like the term "shit happens," What's that?
Oh, I never heard that. It's so great.
I'd like to think I coined it, but I'm sure I didn't. The truth is, real estate markets shift. There always will be cycles, and the business does go on. Because the fundamentals, tell me, what are the fundamentals of real estate? What are reasons that people absolutely have to buy or sell real estate? It's not just being locked at home COVID.
It's PDT, right?
Yeah.
Death, divorces, and taxes.
Yeah.
So that people have to buy and sell.
And the other D, diapers. Right? Death, divorce, diapers.
Downsize.
Downsize. Yeah, that's right. So those things are still going to happen. And actually, a lot of people have been waiting. The latest interest rate adjustment. There's definitely going to be some people who are shaking their heads and are going to be making decisions between now and Christmas. There's no doubt about it, because they don't want to deal with another quarter point or half point adjustment, and they want to get locked in. They're.
I had one client that they said we have to find a house by the end of September, or we're gonna lose our pre-approval. We can't qualify for the amount that we're looking for. We are able to own a house in 3 weeks and close very short. But I find that the stress with the buyers now that they have that pre-approval for 3 months, 4 months, and even that can be an issue if they are very close, because the bank might not even approve if they are very close to what they got. And so I stay stressed from clients that, I need to buy it, and maybe they just buy something so they can enter the market and they don't have to wait for the next year.
Right. And there's a real shift, not just in the market itself, but in the mindset of our clients. And part of our job is to be the professional, to have, if you don't have the experience, you can at least talk like you understand the market, and you can look hard into where the market's at. So when people are just saying the stuff they've heard, whether it's from friends, family, maybe some talking head on TV, and articles, like I have Google News. I don't use Apple News, but I use Google News, and I have so many annoying articles that pop up from mostly Toronto-based newspapers and sources. They're talking about what the market is doing, where the market is going, and they usually only use one or two anecdotes, and they're talking to some person who just went through a bad experience. And if it bleeds, it leads. That's kind of the way the media goes, and they like talking about bad things. They don't talk about success stories. They don't talk about the buyers who are getting houses for less than before, who are getting a good home inspection done, who have a financing condition for 10 days or 5 banking days, which would have been a miracle a couple of years ago. What's that?
Conditions.
Yeah, sale of purchasers property conditions. I've got 3 people with those right now, and they're scrambling to sell. But I mean, they would never have had an accepted offer. So I think the shift is great for buyers, and buyers are the lowest hanging fruit in real estate, especially for newer agents working with buyers. Because they're out there, they want great service. You don't have to have a lot of experience to service a buyer really well, and they're relatively inexpensive to service. So it's a great market for buyers right now. During COVID, if you had listings, you were gonna make bank for sure. You were getting killed if you're just representing buyers and they weren't aggressive, clean, high and hard buyers. Like those were fun buyers to have, but not if they were making irresponsible decisions. Then I'm like, what's my insurance going to say about this? Or just, my conscience. You shouldn't pay that. That's crazy. What's it going to take to buy it? That's different than what's worth. It's not worth what you're going to pay for. That kind of thing. So let's set our mind and take the right actions to thrive in the shift. And if I'm rambling, let me know. Where's Sarah? She's supposed to help me. Can't help me.
You're doing good. You're doing great.
In the middle of every difficulty lies opportunity. Albert Einstein.
Do you think those silence gone, or are you?
I think we can't, or we will lose our online people, is what Heather was saying.
Okay. No worries.
Well, you can see where we're going next, though. We're going to embrace the opportunity of the market with focused action. You get some clarity to be the local expert, know your numbers, and set your priorities to thrive in the market that is coming, or the market that's already here. I am not going to pretend that I know what the market is going to be like next year. What is a fact in real estate is that no one has been able to time the market. There's been people who predicted it, but just as many people predict the opposite, or that things will hold off. I guarantee you, I could never have told, I would not even tell, this is with cottages, so this is a different, you guys don't do a lot of cottage work, but the end of 2020, in the fall of 2020, the cottage market went crazy. People were listing high and were selling really high. And that was the start of the nuts market in 2021. But when people were asking me in late 2020 what I thought was going to happen in 2021, I said, I can't imagine it's going to be like this next year. I just can't even fathom that it's going to be like this. But, lockdowns and stuff continued. People couldn't leave the province. They were looking for waterfront property within 2 to 3 hours of where they lived. And apparently there's all this money sitting around that people wanted to spend, or they wanted to borrow, had no problem with the low interest rates. So the market went up that huge percentage again in my area as well as in this area. And there's no way. I told lots of people, I said, I'm eating my words. I didn't think it would go crazy like this. The people who bought with me were thrilled that bought in 2020. But at that point, I was telling you, you are not going to be able to sell this next year. Some of them sold them the next year, and they made money even with the fees and all that stuff. So, and I am an expert in Muskoka real estate. I have no problem saying that. I'm not going to speak to Barrie or Aurelia or other areas, but even knowing that market so well, there's no way I could have predicted that, and no one around me was predicting it either. So no one can time the market. Anyone have a comment on that? Do you know anyone who's timed the market who is probably a gajillionaire right now?
Those people that bought a house in 1980 and never moved to the beaches.
They weren't timing the market. They're living there.
They're seasoned.
My parents are great examples of people who accidentally did really well in real estate. They've always sold when the market was higher, and they've never bought. They've just always done well. So, and they would say a lot of their wealth has come out of basically just time. They'd say God's grace. They'd be like, you know what, this is the right time. And but like they just, whenever they moved, their place was worth a lot more, and they didn't need to buy something bigger. So they always put some money in the bank that way. But I know people who've done the opposite. I have clients right now whose place did not sell this summer. And they said, don't worry about it, Dave. Every single house that we've ever bought is in a bad market for us. Just the way it is. And they just kind of laughed. It's not like they didn't high five over it. Well,
expectations.
Yeah. So now they're trying to move from our market into an even more expensive market in Cambridge. And they're just going to end up with a very small place, you know, but they are people who've always kind of timed it wrong, no matter what they have to do, and their circumstances make it so they have to move, right?
I've worked with a lot of military over the years, Dave, and it's the same thing with them. You take one military couple that say they've been moving for 25 years, different places, and they're down every single time they move.
Yeah.
The other couple, same time frame, different areas moving around the country,
And they don't get
they're up and they've made money on every sale.
and they don't get to control when they move. You know, the same thing with other kind, like military definitely is a great example. Is they don't really opt. I don't know if they opt in or opt out, but I don't think so. It's like you're going, you know. But I have an OPP client right now who is you're probably familiar if you work with OPP, but if you're high enough in management, they will guarantee your buy. So this person has a house, and the OPP send in 2 appraisers, and they basically meet in the middle, and they say, we will buy the house off you. The OPP buys the house from the officer, and they've always done really well. So all of his buddies in the last 10 years have had really good appraisals, and because the market's been, you know, going up and up and up, and they came to me a couple of weeks ago and they said, you know, we're not upset with the number, but it's $65,000 less than we thought it was going to be. So the good thing is if they make more, they get to keep the difference. So the OPP treat their people really well that way. But they have brought their price down on what they're buying. You know, so their expectations, they've adjusted, they're kind of frugal people, but you never predicted that, right?
Now, with the shift, do you see the recreational properties are selling or are hitting the market more now? And the sellers now are kind of getting desperate because it's not their primary home. So this probably could be their second or third investment. And they feel like, I need to sell it, so count the losses and move on, or no?
Yeah, the investors are kind of screwed. Excuse my French. So the ones who bought during COVID and they all thought they could Airbnb them and make money or even just pay their bills, they're in trouble. But the people who bought cottages, when you say recreational, I'm thinking cottages. People who buy cottages, they usually have some extra money. So if they're buying it personally, they often would rather sell their house than sell their cottage, which is an interesting, not fun fact, but it's an interesting fact. I've seen people arguing over whether they're going to sell the house that they spend most of their time in, or they're going to sell the cottage where they have all of their good memories. It's even more apparent during divorces where people are like, I'm not giving up the cottage, but you can have our house because that's where we had all our fights. No, literally they say stuff like that, right? So the recreational properties, there are properties coming on the market for sure, but the ones that are really, or a lot of them that are on the market right now, they're the ones that were purchased in like 2020, 2021, and they're going to try their best to get their money back. So the really nice ones are holding their value, but some of the worst properties are
Still inflated.
they're still inflated, and they likely are going to have to either reduce their price or figure out some other option. There's still a lot of properties that can kind of pay their taxes and sometimes pay their mortgage with their rental. There's about 11 good weeks of rental in cottage country, and they can make a lot of money during that period of time, but it's the rest of the year. So if they want to rent it on the weekends, they got to do snow removal and keep the place open and worry about pipes exploding and stuff like that. So people who bought anything under $800,000 can probably make it work with rental, but people who paid $1.2 million and higher, there's kind of a little gray area in there where it's someone might be able to make it work, but when you're paying, if you're not on the big lakes, like I know Muskoka, Rossville, and Joseph aren't big compared to Simcoe, but they're better. They're better. Shots fired. Those places you can pay, $3 or $4 million for a place like that, and you can rent them out for $50,000 for 2 weeks, and you can pay your taxes off and you can pay all your interest off, but those people aren't generally renting them. So anyway, that was a long, convoluted answer, but the investors are in trouble, but they're not liquidating quickly. I had a listing, it's gone to 3 different realtors. She will not drop the price enough to sell it. but she is continually renting it out, which makes it very hard to show. Almost borderline an issue with the board because you turn down enough showings and is it really listed, Dave? Is it really listed? So my deal with her was that no rentals while we had it listed, but she wouldn't drop it enough in the summer, and then she kept the price the same and put full-time rental, took the sign off the property, still hasn't sold it. So that person is gonna probably list again in the spring. Who knows whether it's with me or with one of the other couple agents. But if the price isn't reduced, it's just gonna sit again. But once the May 24th comes, she'll just rent it again. So that person doesn't need the money. They sold something else, so they're okay. But when people need to sell, that's recreational usually isn't what they need.
I think that's an excellent example though of someone who, if you're carrying a few listings or working with a few buyers, you can have one of those people around that are overpriced and not
Yep.
motivated.
Yep.
But if you're starting out and you need business, pass on that one and go find someone that's motivated to buy or sell right now or in the next 30, 60 or 90 days.
Yeah,
Because I lost all my buyers, my investors' buyers.
Yeah.
They're all gone.
they're gone.
Yeah.
Well, they like cheap money. Investors, and there's some of them weren't even real investors. Like there's the serious investors have really deep pockets, and they have enough money to buy without borrowing a lot.
Yeah.
They sell other properties or they leverage those properties. But the made up investors, the ones who are watching YouTube videos and decide that they're going to buy, this house and because they have a 2% mortgage, they are in such big trouble in a year from now.
Yeah,
Right.
renew.
Yeah, and a lot of them are trying to port these mortgages. Like, you guys are in the mortgage business. That's not fun. Most of these mortgages are not porting. The porting is easy when interest rates were similar and the banks want your business. They don't want to keep you at 1.6%. They're not going to do that. So there's people making those phone calls and they're getting bad answers or they're getting the truth. That's not a bad answer, right? So we got some stats and a few other things. This is showing a little bit types of markets. So we've got a seller's market where buyer demand exceeds. We're just going to blow through this pretty quickly unless you've got a question about one of these slides. So seller's market, a buyer demand exceeds seller supply. And then down below it says less than 5 months of inventory. A balanced market, a buyer demand equals seller supply, just 5 to 7 months of inventory. And a buyer's market, where the seller supply exceeds buyer demand, which is more than 7 months of inventory. Where I am, we're somewhere between a balanced market and a buyer's market with recreational and residential. It depends on the price point. So we've still got some cheap houses where I live. I don't mean really cheap, but I sold a house in town in Bracebridge a few months ago. It was a $550,000 piece of junk, I'll say that in this room, but the sellers also knew that it was a bit of a piece of junk. They bought it just a few years before for like $300,000. And they did nothing to it except have 5 kids beat the crap out of the place. But it had commercial zoning and it sold for like $600,000, right? So that price point, there were people lining up. The open house that Leanne hosted had a lot of people. For our market, if you have 10 to 20 people through an open house, that is a resounding success because it's just a small town world, right? But the houses that are in the 850 to over $1 million, like residential, doesn't have big acreage, doesn't have this on the water. That stuff is not selling quickly. Those buyers are looking for better deals, or they just can't afford. They don't want to afford the interest rates, which I can appreciate. I don't want to either. I don't want the interest rates. So where are we at in Barrie? Got 3 choices. The balanced market doesn't last very long. Balanced markets don't last long. It's usually shifting from one to the other. So we were definitely in the seller's market, right?
Yeah, we were. I think there's 2 markets. If the homes are priced right, they're
Yep.
going with multiples.
Yep.
And
Okay.
if they're not, if they're overpriced, like you're saying, the 850 and above, or if the value isn't there, buyers are blocking it. Buyers are getting smarter in other
Okay.
ways. I think they're becoming more educated with things like El Sigma and other apps that they have.
Yep.
So we really have to sit down with 2 markets again.
So we may not ever get to a buyer's market in Ontario. Like it's possible, as long as pricing gets to wherever it needs to be, I think the inventory is always going to be too low for the amount, like the volume of buyers in the province. Does anyone, like, how do you feel about that? Like, I don't think it's a buyer's market, but if there's someone who's willing to, maybe it's a luxury buyer's market. Like if someone's got $2 million for a super nice place, and I have a friend like that, he feels like he can wait as long as he wants to because prices just keep coming down on some of these estate properties. And does that make sense?
Yeah,
But
like
with
the pent up demand that we were saying. Like,
well, there's pent up, the pent up demand, people eventually have to buy and sell, but they're not going to pay more than whatever they mentally think things are worth.
yeah,
And-
that formula.
Yeah, and that's right. So affordability has changed fundamentally, right? Because the cost of buying is the, what's the formula? Brendan? It's basically it's borrowing power. Like it's,
Your TD.
people spend the same amount of money, but it brings property values down because you can only spend this much money overall.
I think for every 1% increase in interest rates, the purchasing power goes down 10%.
Right.
I think that's the correlation.
Right. And what eventually happens is that this, $700,000 house becomes a $650,000 house or $600,000 house because everyone who buys those houses is dealing with the exact same market factors. What is that?
The computer doesn't. It's overheating.
Any questions from you guys that are online? Yeah, they're gone. They're in the fridge. So here's this seasonal shifts in the sales cycle and an income cycle. This is not always going to fit every single market. I have an extreme seasonal shift where I am because winter is a serious thing in Muskoka. We have 6 months of winter. I tell people that and they're like, no. I'm like, yeah. 1 year we had staying snow on Halloween and it never went away and it was not fully gone until sometime in April. And they said, well, we love snow. I'm like, good. Good. So basically everything shuts down after Thanksgiving in a normal year. And I think this year's more like a normal year where we are. During COVID, COVID was schizophrenic and just up and down, unpredictable. No offense to anyone with mental health issues because COVID, the market was worse, The seasonal shift is a little bit more subtle here. Obviously, spring is busiest. Spring starts earlier in Barrie, and then it starts another couple weeks earlier in Toronto, right? But the income cycle it's predictable as well when you think about the fact that we make our money 2 to 3 months after we're doing the work, and sometimes even longer, depending on how long you're working with the person, right? Economic shifts. These are examples of economic shifts. They're all different reasons. This is, again, speaking to the fact it's inevitable. They don't happen with the same predictability and regularity as seasonal shifts. So seasonal shifts, that spring is good. Like spring is always good in real estate. It's crazy, it's busy, but you will have some work in the spring. Almost certainly, no matter how big your business is, no matter how much work you do, you probably will have some work in the spring. If you don't have any work in May and June, you're doing a lot wrong. And I'm not beating up on that. It's just, that's the busiest time of year. And there's lots of people out there that want help and there's not enough people to help them because it's so seasonal. Does that make sense? But if the phone's not ringing Christmas Day, that's okay. I have January basically off. Not necessarily because I want January off, because it's not the most beautiful time of year where I live, but it's nice in other parts of the world. But we've come to grips with the fact that January is dead. Like I could basically disappear off the earth in January. I'm not losing any business that's noticeable. And we have enough statistics now after many years to be like, whatever. If someone's like, I need to see a place on January 15th, and I've got to choose between that and, going to Mexico or snowmobiling, because I do that. I go even further north, which is crazy in the winter, and snowmobile for, big chunks of time. Yeah. There's no real estate emergencies in January. Not in the scope anyway. The economic shifts. Are you guys watching any stuff online? Like anyone following so-called economic experts? And like we are we in a recession? Is the states in a recession? This stuff and the way people see stuff, a recession is. We are in a recession, but it's just what no one will admit to it, right? And in the US, they're heading into one, but it affects people's mindset. So people who panic, who are right on the edge of financial stability, when things get worse and they already are in bad shape, big economic shifts or even small ones affect every aspect of their life. In this afternoon, we're talking about the second part of the course, which is margining your business. We'll talk a little bit about kind of being on the edge and having that margin so you're not completely on the financial edge of things with your business. But it does affect the way the market shifts. When a market shifts, there's only one thing to do: shift with it. In truth, there are two shifts you must make: a mental shift and an action shift. All right, what are some things that you guys have started thinking about, or was there anything from the morning so far that is an aha? Do you guys know what an aha is? Aha. And if there's not, that's okay. But I'm going to leave some dead air.
Honestly, if you go back to that last slide, I think that's valuable to pause on and actually think about, okay, what are you doing to shift mentally in your actions? Right? We mentioned you have to work twice as hard for potentially half as much, but to mentally shift, okay, everyone else is going to lose their mind, or not everyone else, but most people in our industry are going to really struggle. And am I going to, or am I going to rise above that?
Right.
And what do I need to do up here to rise above that?
Totally.
Yeah.
And that's what we're moving into. It's getting real. Any other ahas?
Yeah, I think when we first started talking today, we said C21 was down about 60% year over year from their normal business. What we have to, part of that mindset shift, or what we have to think about is that a lot of market share that's gained during a downtime, like right now, is kept when the market bounces back up again, not if, it's going to be when. So if people are leaving the business and there's less business for a lot of folks, as bad as that is for those folks, it's good for those of us in the room that want to stay in real estate.
Oh yeah.
And so that's part of the mindset too, is get in front of people that are motivated, that want to sell and or buy. And there'd be more work for you. There's gonna, when the market starts to recover, if we do things right now, and I'm sorry if I'm stealing your
No.
But then we talk about that again. It's always a double-edged sword. It's bad for some folks and it's good for some folks. So I'm just going to kind of lean over into the group that it's good for, and I'm going to just get in front of more folks.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's no doubt about it that there's two, like, I think you could poll the general public if you went to the mall or something and said, hey, do you think there's two options? There's not enough real estate agents in Barrie, or do you think that there's too many? Or do you think it's Goldilocks just right? Let's put a third option there. Do you think anyone's going to say there's not enough real estate agents? No. And I don't know what your peer group's like, but when you decide you're getting into real estate, hopefully you had some supportive people be like, that's great, you're going to be awesome at that. But did any of you have like a friend who's like, are you kidding me? There's way too many of you guys. Did anyone get feedback like that at all? Yeah, okay. And you still did it. Good. Right?
The challenge.
Yeah. Well, I feedback I got was very similar. It's like, okay, like there's again, throw a rock the way you could find buyers during COVID. Throw a rock, you can find a real estate agent in Muskoka, especially when the weather's nice, right? You'll bounce a rock off somebody wearing a lot of makeup or nice clothes or flip-flops in a boat. Hell, I heard you're a real estate agent. I've never seen you before, but you're here for the summer. That's nice. That's nice. But no, it's not about it's about being that top 5%, top 10%, top 50%. You're going to be doing great. But you can't be worried about the competition. You have to focus on yourself. So, because the competition, if they're thinking about you, that's very distracting for them, but they're not going to get anything done, right? All right, let's get real and let's get real. If I was being real, I tell you, I don't wear the suit jacket very often.
You don't have to wear a mask.
No, I'm gonna wear it. I'm wearing it. Discussion. Do you believe that you can thrive in this market? Do you believe that you can thrive in this market? You don't have to say how you're gonna do it. Okay, I want to hear it from you guys. I'm not like a Tony Robbins guy or something, but yeah, like we'll start on this side of the table of the whatever it is, the C-shaped semicircle. And if you believe that you can thrive in this market, say it. If you don't, or if you're not sure, I'll come back to you later and say it again. But do you believe that you can thrive in this market?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm going to do it one at a time because I can't. Dave, do you believe that you can thrive in this market?
There's a lot of agents I talk to who are not doing well. So it's a good opportunity. For sure.
Yeah.
I do, yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Nelson?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
All right. Those are the right answers.
Yes.
Get out of here. We're done. No. And I will answer. I believe that I can thrive in the market too, and that my team can. And as a team leader, like I've got 2 people who work with me. They're not like they don't really work under me. We've got a bit of a co-op set up within the Scope Group, but we have these conversations. Like it doesn't just happen. Like success doesn't just happen in real estate. You've got to work at it. There's lots of things that you can do to improve your business and to do better in real estate. Shifts in business, shifts in mindset. Misinformation and fear are rampant. Reluctance is high. Anxiety is high. Panic and confusion occur, and transactions are fewer. Does that ring a bell? What on there? Give me one thing. Give me one example of misinformation and fear are rampant. Give me an example.
I'll never get a house. We'll never be able to afford it.
You're hearing that from somebody?
Sure.
Okay. Okay. Reluctance is high. Who's got a reluctant client?
I was gonna say for the fear, I mean, it's like, where's your next paycheck gonna come from? What is it?
Absolutely. Now, and right in the middle there, anxiety is high. I mean, anxiety is a thing, guys. Like I shouldn't have to tell you, but like, it's a thing.
Even with COVID.
Barely, not in summer. In July and August, I call it, what's it? I call it Scotia amnesia. You forget about winter. You forget about fall. You forget about black flies. From the end of July to really the middle of September, there's no better place to be. But the rest of the year can really suck, depending on what where you are and what you're doing, right? So anxiety's not there then, but boy, it's gonna crop up on a rainy day or when the bills are due at the beginning of the month, right? And anxiety's everywhere. So any guys heard the bold law, keep it between the lines. That's actually my favorite bold law or bold rule. So if you're doing the bold course, there's all of these, there's a wall of different kind of sayings and expressions that are part of the training. But for me, I'm an extrovert. I'm an excitable person. I love people. I can get caught up in other people's emotions sometimes. And the principle from one of the bold coaches was he just held his hands like this and he said, here's the bold law. Keep it between the lines. Your lows that want to be down here, just keep them up here. And your highs that want to be way up here, just keep them here. Because one of the expectations of your clients is that you're going to be professional. You're going to enjoy and celebrate with them. But you cannot get stuck in their anger and their sadness and their worry. You cannot absorb all of it. And for me, I can really absorb that stuff. Like I can act like I don't, but I've learned to keep it between the lines so that when, that deal goes firm, the deal goes firm. I'm excited about it, but I'm also like, okay, let's move on. What else do we need to do?
Could go not firm.
Absolutely. Oh, man, like these days, I'm like, it's, when it closes, that's great, but I'm waiting for the money to be in the bank.
That's,
Yeah. So, the anxiety and buffering yourself from it doesn't mean you can't work with people who are anxious. If you want to avoid anxious people, you're in the wrong business. Because you're going to, and they are going to sometimes put it on you. I had a client, a couple, where he actually, about a month in, took me aside and he's like, "Thanks, Dave, for taking it for the team. It's been so much better at home." I'm like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, Amanda's just like, she just like yells like you." And that's, she's just like full barrel. It's always at you. It's like, then she gets off the phone and she like feels better. So I had to talk with her about that. I'm like, this is not what our relationship is here. They eventually did buy, they bought and sold twice. But they are also on my blacklist. I will not work with that particular couple ever again. And I told her that after the first deal. And we did do the second one, but it was great. But you can't, like, you're gonna have some crazy people and you're gonna have to work with them. And again, when I say crazy, don't be offended if you're actually crazy. I'm a little bit crazy. And panic and confusion, they absolutely do occur, right? So you guys have any panic and confusion, let's say maybe a day or two before closing on any deal? Have you ever had anything like that where they call you up and the lawyers have done something, or something was left at the property, or there's a title issue, or like that causes? Yeah,
All of the above.
absolutely.
I didn't know that it would take more than the same day to transfer my money from RSPs into the bank account, even though everybody told us that we should have taken care of it months ago. The money's not there.
Yeah. So some things in all the businesses I've been in, I've always said, in real estate, there's no such thing as a real estate emergency. Now, there are some things that are very important, but it's not the same thing as like falling off a bridge. It's not the same thing as a death in the family. It's not the same thing as something that's a real emergency. But with our clients, it feels like it is. So when they're panicking, for example, they have to get their deposit in 24 hours, right? Like they're supposed to get it in 24 hours. And they find out that they can't liquidate their RSP, or they were planning on borrowing from mom and dad. And, mom's like, sorry, we went to Hawaii, or whatever it is. Like, we want to make sure that we're the cool and calm second voice in their life, even though in your head you might be freaking out too. You'd be like, but my answer is almost like, we're going to figure this out. And then can I give you a call back in a few minutes? And then I can rant and rave. And I can lose my mind in my truck and honk the horn and yell out the window. I don't do this a lot, but sometimes I'm like, I need to give you a call back so I can give you better attention on this. And that's sometimes because I'm going to lose my mind. I'm so annoyed. I'm so annoyed with them. I'm annoyed with their whatever the advice they got from whether it's a bad lawyer or a mortgage broker or their realtor cousin who's annoyed. But we have to be able to deal with that panic and confusion. All we need to know is a little bit more than your client. This is where I try to encourage people who are newer in the business. You just need to know a little bit more than them. Now, in the day and age of the internet, you should know a lot more than them, but you're not going to know a lot more than that early on. Can we agree? Sarah and I have been in real estate the same amount of time.
Yeah.
When we got into this, we knew very little. The courses prepare you only so much, but reality is different. Anyone who's been in the business a little while, there's a lot of trial by fire, right? Brennan, you benefited from having your dad in the business, but still, right? You've probably dealt with stuff he's never dealt with before, right? Maybe.
And the courses coming in as a mentor, the courses coming in and then coming here do not really fully prepare you for.
No.
That's how, because I think they teach you how to do the business and how to follow the rules, but they don't teach you how to get to business.
No, that's right. That's
So
right.
like trying to get out
Get
there.
out of here. Don't be scared.
No,
Sure, she's got a great network.
I got to realize
Yeah.
Move on.
she's already said that she's right.
People don't understand that real estate is selling real estate, but your other job and most important, the same job is lead generating, like getting the business.
Yeah. Yes, that's right. So they don't teach you how to get the clients. My son who's 19, who's an electrical apprentice now. He was at one point a couple of years ago, was like, I'm a real estate agent. I'm like, I guess you can, but then you're competing against me. It's like, what? I'm like, well, I'm kind of joking with you, but I'm kind of not. I'm not ready to retire. You think I'm just going to hand you all of my business? It's like, anyway, that was it was a fun moment with him, but he was like, he just thought it was going to be easy, you know. And frankly, for him or for my daughter, it would be easier than someone who doesn't have anyone to help them with the business. But when I talk to other people about getting into real estate, especially in Muskoka, because a lot of people, I do know them, whether it's through my sphere, whether it's through church or someone who recognizes my big head from a billboard or something like that. When they say, oh, yeah, I'm going to get into real estate, I'm always like, you should get into real estate. And then if they really want to talk about it, they talk about it. And we talk about it a little bit. And ultimately, it often comes up in their head. Like, they've said it out loud a few times. They're like, I guess I'd kind of be competing like directly against you. I'm like, well, in a way you are, but there's there's enough business for us out there. They're like, well, we have a lot of the same like contacts and stuff like that. And I don't think that's going to work. You know, I'm like, well, I'm not trying to talk you out of it, but like, you're going to have to build your own business. You can't just expect that you're going to start and then people are just going to automatically choose you, right? There's no, I had a really good friend that I have breakfast with every Thursday morning. His name's Tony. And Tony told me that he would not work with me for a couple years. He said, Dave, no offense, but you don't know anything about this. And I said, and I wasn't going to argue with him. I know what he's like. He's a classic old Dutch guy. And he just says it how he means it. And I said, that's great, Tony. I don't expect my friends to work with me. And really, if there'd ever be a personal problem, I would rather keep you as a friend than lose you because, you know, you're a bad client. You know, and he laughed. But the reality is I've got his house listed right now and I've sold for his family. But in that first couple of years, some people feel that way. Other people will be like, oh, I like that you're fresh. I like that you're energetic. I like that you're giving me the time. I like that you answer the phone. Does anyone here let their calls go to voicemail intentionally? Okay, well, you have call ID, so if you know who it is, right?
I have a client that wants to go to voicemail
every single time, right? So this is just a bit of an aside. It is so inexpensive to answer the phone. It is so inexpensive to answer the phone. And it can be so expensive to not answer the phone. So I told my kids years ago, and they're not little anymore. But my son's like, Dad, you seem to answer the phone a lot. I said, well, I don't do it during dinner. I don't do it when we're talking. But if all things are equal, I will answer the phone if there's nothing else going on. And he's like, okay, like, why? Like, you don't want the phone to run your life. I said, no, but think of it this way. These are $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 phone calls sometimes. And sometimes it's some guy who wants to sell me something, lead generation. Those guys, I say, how'd you get my number? So, well, I found you on the internet. So I think I'm doing it. Yeah. Right.
I can speak to that right
Go
now
ahead.
as that phone call that I just took. And the only reason why I picked up that call is I have had this buyer under contract since December last year, struggling to find something, has been the buyer. I've renewed her contract and now her contract has expired as of August 30th. And in mid-August, she asked me when her contract expired. So we know all that's like a red flag.
Yeah.
Right? And I haven't heard back from her. And she just called me. And I was like, at that moment, and I saw that name, I'm like, this is a number I need to answer because she's no longer in contract with me and is not signing something else. And she said just now on the phone, she's like, I found another house. Okay, let's get a new contract.
Nice.
And if I had not answered that, I'd already been teetering with her. So if I had not answered that phone call, my concern was that she wouldn't re-sign with me. So there are times when you can and times when you see yellow pages calling 55 times.
So at a minimum, answer the phone if you can. Many times I'm told, oh, you answered. I've called 4 other people and no one answers.
Yeah.
And I will say, well, I answer if I can. And I'll say things like, well, I won't answer if I'm with my family or something like that. Because you do want to set their expectations so that you're not going to answer the phone all the time or text back within like 10 seconds of every text. But a lot of realtors don't answer the phone or they don't call back quickly. So some of them disable their voicemail so that you have to text them. If I'm 80 years old, I am not going to text you. And there are a lot of aging boomers right now. I mean, 80 is a little older than the boomers, but my parents are in the mid 80s. But those people, they need to talk to someone on the phone. They have money, they have valuable properties, and they are all going to be downsizing in the next 10 to 15 years. Those are great clients, and they use the phone. It's not because I love answering the phone. Like, seriously, I don't, because most of the time the call is not great, but you're looking for that diamond in the coal, and you've got to touch a little bit of coal before you find those diamonds, right? So, the mental shift, you can't control the market. I think we can agree on that. And you can control your outlook and your response to the market. And 3, the market doesn't determine your success. It simply determines your strategy. We are no longer in a speed market. We're in a skill-based market. So when things were all going quickly and the buyers, there's 20 buyers on every offer night, things like that, you had to respond quickly. You had to make adjustments. You had to have 3 different offers written and then sign the one that was suitable, all that stuff. If you've been through that, that is incredibly stressful and not the way anyone wants to continue. I almost had a mental breakdown in 2021. I don't know what that would look like for me. That would not be pretty like it would be for anybody. But 2021 almost killed me. Like, I was having what were probably anxiety attacks, like heart palpitations and not being able to sleep. And it was just not having enough rest and not having enough, everything, not having any margin in our life. It's partly why we started the team and made some drastic changes. But the market's not like that anymore. So what do you think the difference is between a speed and a skill-based market? What are some skills that would be more applicable now than, let's say, during the height of COVID? Because that's an extreme example. Negotiating.
Yeah.
What's negotiation? Isn't it, here's a bunch of money, sign this? No, that's not negotiation. You're right. So negotiation, it really matters now. Anything else?
Empathy.
What's that?
Empathy.
Empathy?
Yeah,
Sure.
Because they are so stressed mode that they don't know what's going to happen in the next few months.
Yeah.
Now they almost feel that is this the right decision? Should I do that? Should not? And they rely on you to say no, yeah, buy or don't buy. So trying to be on their shoes and
To understand them. And listening is the only way to really, you can read body language as well, but you need to listen to what they're saying, and then you need to listen to them again. And sometimes it's like a third conversation before they really tell you what's going on. It's like, well, we're thinking about doing this. And then the next conversation, it's like, well, we're getting there. And the next one's like, we need to sell next week. I lost my job, whatever it is. So
I work with a lot of first-time buyers, and working for 6 months with this client, we finally found a house. Was dealing with the listing agent. They said, if you get this number, we'll close the deal. So back and forth, a couple of days, I got the listing agent agree with the price. Okay, let's put an offer. They never answered for a couple of days. No texting, nothing. So they called me, I think, for almost 3 days later. We are not ready. And he decided to give me all the excuse. And I called the single first-time home buyers and said, no, let it go. Waited. Maybe this is not the right time. And let's see. 4 days later, okay, I'm ready. Let's put the offer, and we got the house. So that's how if I try to push it, and I just did what you said. I just need a moment. Can I just call it 5 minutes? As soon as I turn it off, I will. Okay, it's their decision, my decision.
Yeah.
I call. Yeah, you're good. I'll talk to this agent, and she understood, and So, but yeah, I think the empathy of
Sure.
understanding, it is critical with all the numbers now compared to 6 months ago. Right?
And it goes back to our legal, like fiduciary responsibility to care for them for what's most important to them, to what's best for them. And for us, it might be, I need this deal because my mortgage payment or whatever, or because I bought a car that's too expensive. We'll talk about that later. But like seriously, like doing what's best for your client is sometimes doing, they shouldn't do anything. So you're not ready, or I can tell that you're trying to make a decision that maybe you're not equipped to make it right now, or you need to sleep on this. And sometimes you lose out because they do that, but you will never lose out long-term relationally with those people if you're doing the best. They know you're looking out for their best interest, right? So what do you think, Sarah, with time?
Oh, well, no, I was just looking for a charger so I could get my tablet to start recording. Sorry. No, but talking about that too, like it is, I have clients right now who are like on the verge of like their interest rates going up and they're calling me like saying I can't afford my payments. So like talking them through that and helping them through those things and trying to find different avenues. And I feel like I'm talking myself out of business, but I'm not, they have sent me to people because they trust that I'm giving them the advice that's in their best interest and not just in me getting a sale. And I have a good story about that another time, who did a double-ended purchase, and then couldn't get during the hot market, couldn't get the financing. So the realtor loaned them the money.
Oh, wow.
Well, now the realtor is calling them asking to get it back and saying, "Oh, no problem, I'll just list your house for you." That happened like last week. Yeah, and it just like breaks my heart.
Not in this brokerage, right?
No.
There you go, Dan. You're off the hook, BOR.
But like, that's the kind of phone calls that we get, and this one, like, he keeps on calling me back because he knows that I'm trying to steer him in the right direction. So keeping with the importance of
Yeah, because real
doing the
estate
right
is
thing.
not the best time to sell.
No.
So on the same note, piggyback to this. So the language you use matters. So you reflect your mindset and how you speak about things. So when someone's talking about an abnormal market, between the two of us, or between all of us, I can say things like it's a schizophrenic market, it's bonkers, it's whatever. When people say it's abnormal, COVID was abnormal. So anyone who said, "Oh no, this is a normal market," they were completely out to lunch. Everyone knew nothing was normal at that point. But right now, we're much closer to a normal market than we've been for a long time. I wouldn't even say 2019. I think we're more normal than 2019 right now. So terms like abnormal market, just refer to it as the market, or this is the way it is, instead of it's going to get back to normal. What is normal? Normal is whatever it is right now, I think, unless it's something extreme. Like
You talk about the phases too.
yeah, you can talk about the phases.
It is
Yeah.
part of the market cycle.
Then they want to know. Then they want to know more about the cycle.
Yeah.
So if you start talking about a bigger system or a bigger idea, depending on the personality type, be ready to back it up with a bunch of stuff. So, I mean, I'm the kind of person, like, I would say, tell me about the cycle key, and then you're stuck for 45 minutes talking to me, and maybe I'm not good at a buyer or something. A crash versus a correction, we don't have a market crash. And I don't even like the term correction. I just like change. So a correction means it was wrong before. Was it really wrong before?
Yes.
Okay. Depends on what end of it you're on, right? Like, yeah, like so it's definitely correction is a better term to use than a crash. I like threat versus opportunity because a threat suggests that you're afraid of it, or they should be afraid of it. An opportunity is something that you can take advantage of and might be good for you, right? In almost every situation, there is an opportunity, even with something that could easily be a threat. I mean, if the lion is standing behind them ready to eat them, I mean, they're not going to feel great if you tell them, "Hey, you can have a lion vote. If we turn around and kill that lion." That's not going to help them. So it's a real threat. You have to steer them away because you're looking after them. But when we're talking about pricing and we're talking about how they're going to feel if they miss out on a purchase, or if they don't sell now, what's going to be like if they go through the winter and then they're stuck with a lower market in the spring, things like that. Those are opportunities they see as a threat, but you need to turn it around and talk to them like, we have some control over this because we are aware that this could happen, and we won't be surprised if this happened. It could go this way, it could go this way. This is how we're going to handle it if it goes this way. and this is how we're going to handle it if it goes this way. Are you with me? And if they're listening, they maybe weren't listening, but they'll be like, oh. And they might have been hearing what you're going to say, but they are definitely acknowledging that they will trust you because you're talking it out with them. Nobody likes the person who's like, don't worry, I'll take care of it. I don't like those people anyway. Do you like it when someone's like, don't worry about it? You're going to buy a car, and like, explain to me the price of the car and how that works with this payment. Like, I'm pretty good at math. Like, I don't understand how this works. And they're like, just don't worry about it. The payment's good, right? I'm like, no. I want to know how this works. Show me the breakdown. And funny numbers again. It still doesn't work. And you don't want to be that person with real estate. You don't want to try and magically get them to sign stuff and do things that they're not comfortable with. But we want things to be presented accurately. We want to use the language that is not exaggerating the problem and also not lying about it either. Again, if there's a real threat to somebody, if someone lists their home and two neighbors on either side list their homes at the same time, that is a threat to their listing. The opportunity is that they could reduce their price now so that they will sell their place. Or take it off the market for a few months and see what happens with the neighbor, whatever it is. But there are some things that are real threats to them. And if you lose your job or other things. There are three types of people: those that are unnecessarily pessimistic. Second, those who hopefully wish for the best, believe they can't fail, and are unrealistically positive. And third, those who respect the fact they might fail, actively prepare for the worst, and strive for the best. So I've never been the unnecessarily pessimistic person. You probably can tell that just by how I talk. But I definitely have been the unrealistically positive person. And that isn't much fun if things don't go well. You know, if you're the one who led them down the road and then they fall into the hole, right? So I think a goal is definitely to be the third, those who respect the fact that they might fail, but actively prepare for the worst and strive for the best. If you do your best and work at the right things and still don't have an amazing year in 2024, you at least know that you've done everything you could. Instead of the person who's like, oh, well, the phone didn't ring, so now I'm back to working retail, or I'm back to swinging a hammer, or whatever it is. If you do all sorts of things to benefit your business and to bring in, to do your lead gen and to focus on your sphere, to reach out to everyone, I'm just giving you a few examples. Your year will go better, but you will also feel much better about your situation, knowing that you can rest assured that you work very hard at it instead of just making excuses. Like, there's a lot of excuses in this business. And we're part of a company that does not suffer fools well or whining about it. The wall here is lined with ideas and formulas and ideas that have worked for many, like tens of thousands of realtors over the last 25 years have built amazing businesses. And they're not all super salespeople. They're not all big business types. Every type of agent stage, family situation, every type of financial start, there's people who've done very, very well just implementing what's in a millionaire real estate agent book. And the Shift book is different. It's something to read last year, read now, read again, jump back in it if you're bored. But the MREA still applies. Like it applies. It's not outdated. Have you guys all read The Millionaire Real Estate Agent? Yeah? It's okay if you haven't. Like, it's a big book. Half of it. There you go. You got to the almost millionaire page. Like, I'll get there soon. Yeah. So it's always worth, Andrew, or it's always worth digging back into just a section. You don't have to read it from start to finish every time. Mine doesn't get read a lot, but boy, is there a lot of markings in it and a lot of stuff in it. And that's the book that actually put me into real estate. And then Dave Walker is the one who nudged me towards Keller Williams. And then Jamie Lee's mom, Diane, is the one who basically is like, you can do this, at a time when I really was not feeling super great about where we were. So you can do it. You can do it. Be the third type there.
Sounds like you're-
Don't put up your hands, but like who's unnecessarily pessimistic and who's unrealistically positive? And how can you get to that third spot mentally and then get there? Not how, but do you want to be that person who respects the fact that they might fail, but have prepared for the worst and strive for the best? Resourcefully realistic. Growth comes from clarity, priorities, and focused action. Growth comes from clarity, being clear on what you're doing, priorities, and focused action. These are some things to know. Know your local market trends, where you've been, where you are, where you're going. Know your business trends and how they match the market, and control the media spin. The media spin sucks right now. It just stinks. There's so many media sources, and they all say different things. You can read the same article, basically the same stats come out, and the perspective on it is completely different from one reporter or one realtor to the next. Don't let potential clients or friends or family or whatever tell you what the real estate market is like. I'm not saying to argue with them and fight with them about it. I definitely will have a discussion if somebody starts to real estate expert me when they don't know anything about it. They just read something that morning. And especially if it's just somebody who's just calling me on the phone and they're complete, like, I don't want a bad Google review, so I'm not gonna fight with somebody or really like dress them down or something like that. But you can be your own local market expert. And somebody who tells you what it's like in Richmond Hill right now, how awful it is, or how great it is, or is putting something on you that you are sure is not correct, either just blow it off and be like, whatever, and move on. Or if you're a confrontational person or someone who likes a little bit of a go, talk to them about it. Because it is true, their market is not your market. There's no such thing as the Ontario real estate market. We have all of these little zones and areas. I'm sure there's all sorts of pockets within half an hour of this building. There are neighborhoods that are completely different than other neighborhoods that are half an hour in the other direction. Is that true? Yeah. So the person who has this experience here, they do not necessarily know what's going to happen over here. Enough experience adds up and you get some idea, but there's a lot of surprises in this game, right? I am open to a lot of things happening. It's pretty fun when you have offer nights and you don't think you're going to get multiple offers and you get a bunch. Or it could be the opposite that happens. You get, oh yeah, I had a place during COVID that was massively overpriced and a waterfront property, so it had 1 million showings. And we had 3 offers, which was not a lot for a place like that during COVID. All 3 offers were conditional, and all 3 offers were under the list price. It was like, what's the opposite of a miracle? But my clients had their expectations set properly. I said, this is what your place is worth, even in this market. And they're like, let's go higher, Dave. I'm like, we can do this as a speculative listing. I will defend your price like it's my price because that's my job. However, I don't expect that we're going to do a lot better than this. And when the offers rolled in and they were all conditional, we still had a beer on their patio, and she's like, you were right about that, which you never hear. Don't expect to hear that. Like that's not like. And I said something cheesy like, "Can you tell my wife?" But like their expectations were set, and I knew the market. Like even in a crazy market like that, I said, "This is not sustainable. Like the pricing here is not sustainable." But it was high enough to bring in someone who was. It was still great. So But they weren't mad, mostly because of how we handled it, how the expectations were set, right? And knowing the market. Controlling the media spin, shut off the TV if it's making you mad, or just do not, like, unsubscribe to whatever it is. Or I know with Apple News or Google News, you can just not like certain things or dislike it, and you will get less of that feed. So I don't like, for example, I don't like flipping TV shows, like this shows where they flip houses. Lisa loves them, and I like the design. Like, I know I actually don't like the design line. I don't like any part of it. Because most of it's in the US or in markets that we don't deal with, and they don't give any credit to the real estate agents in those shows. And it also gives a false impression to people, so that they can buy a house that has good bones for cheap. They can fix it up on a reasonable budget, and they can sell it for a bunch more and still never get dirty the whole time, wearing high heels and nice gloves.
And do it in a weekend.
And do it in a weekend, and you don't need any of the contractors and the contractors. Anyway, sorry, I'm going on about that. I'm passionate about everything. But like that media spin, I don't like. I have unsubscribed all of those things. Like on YouTube, I don't get them anymore in my feed. I don't want to see them. I also don't want to see certain. There's a whole bunch of stuff I just unsubscribe from, including a couple real estate sources that I just don't want to hear what they kept saying, especially about cottage country during COVID. I was approached by many journalists about listings and about giving a comment about certain things. And I read their stuff. I'm like, you are going to throw me under the bus. You're going to throw all Muskoka realtors, all real estate agents under the bus, and you are going to generalize in a way that's not helpful to my business. But
I just want to take something out of number 3 there. I would take the media right out of there and control the spin.
the spin,
Because a lot of the people, right, they're getting their information from friends or family.
Yeah.
They have their best interests at heart with zero knowledge.
Yeah.
So you want to be able to find out A, who's spinning them, and B, put them in the right mindset.
Yeah. And it's fair to say, hey, listen, I don't know everything about the market, but I can tell you about the areas that I really know well.
Here are the facts.
Yeah, here's the facts. Sometimes they want the facts. Sometimes they just want your opinion. If they want the facts, I say, how much information do you want? I can send you a ton of data, but you're gonna have to sift through it. Or you can just kind of believe what I'm saying here. Like I can give you as much or as little as you want. But if you're gonna second guess my opinion on the market that I work in, we're probably not gonna work well together,
I think everybody's a real estate expert when they start
Oh,
looking on realtor.ca. How many times I've had a client saying, well, my friend told me that I can sell my house for $750,000, but we're only listed at 700. And I said, oh, perfect. So are they going to write us an offer?
Yeah.
And then they turn around and they're like, well, no. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the things I say often, especially to sellers, is friends, family, and neighbors rarely will pay you what your property's worth. Rarely. And get it out of your system if you think one of them's going to buy it. I will not sign a listing agreement that has names on it. Like, well, if Bob next door buys it, then I'm not going to pay a commission. We're going to discount. Like, no. Take a week. Talk to them. If they can't put something on paper, figure it out. Take 2 weeks, maybe. And only twice has it ever happened where they sold to the neighbor, but they would have sold to the neighbor anyway. So, but they're happy to have that time. I said, but I am not going to make an exception for your next door neighbor or for your cousin Larry, so that they can just come in because, oh, it's finally for sale now, right? Which is a real problem, especially with family cottages.
I would
It's
think
like,
Muskoka too.
Yeah.
there was a listing on Cashy Lake, which is just below Gravenhurst there, that had 10 exceptions on the listing agreement. So there's like a scheduled J or something. And I remember showing up at the property to show it, and I had not prepared. When you go see something and you haven't, I get there and then I start reading through. I'm like, wait a minute, go to the appendix, and I looked at it and it had the father had died. This is just an anecdote, but it's funny and awful. The father had died, but before he died, he went around the lake and he talked to 10 neighbors, and 8 of them said, we would like a right of first refusal whenever the property's sold. So he put it in his will. And he put in his will for all of his kids. So basically, this property went on the market. The listing agent, I called him and he's like, I am so sorry. I don't know what to tell people. If I wrote this on the, if I put in the public comments, no one would show up here. But it was priced low for competition. And they got I told my people about it and they're like, well, let's just look at it for fun and then let's look at another place. But they weren't angry, which is good because I figured it out before we got in and we had other places to see. But it did end up selling. It sold way higher. And one of the neighbors they just exercised their right of first refusal after 4 family members didn't exercise their right of first refusal and sold to like the neighbor next door and sold for way above list price. But all the attention came out of it with all these people coming and going. The neighbors saw how exciting it was. They didn't want a new neighbor. But that was an example of bonkers behaviors. The media would jump on that and say, this is what's happening. This is what's happening in cottage country. No, that's not happened like once. That's not normal. It is an extreme example. They like a crazy story, but no, that's not the way it normally goes. And the family and friends don't normally buy it. Usually the right of first refusal are not exercised. They would have bought it years ago if they were willing to pay what the market value was. Anything more about the media spin?
I would say also, like, I personally unsubscribed from like real estate hacks and all of those Facebook pages. I didn't remove myself from the group. I just unfollowed them. Because when you're sitting there and you hear 25 people's opinions from different towns, or you hear about crazy stuff that's going on to the real estate, you're not focused on selling real estate or getting business. You're hearing what 25 people are saying about what they should put on their business cards. And I don't know if anybody follows real estate hacks here. I mean, 45,000 agents are on it. And it is extremely toxic, that Facebook group.
Yeah.
But that being said, there's some very smart people that are on it. So when I haven't deleted the group, because when I have a question about something, I can type it into the search bar.
You can search it, yeah.
And see the credible people like Sandra Jackson, the people who actually have a good legal opinion on it.
And all the crazy answers too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's why I keep it. But I unsubscribe from those Facebook groups because they pollute your brain. And every time you wake up and someone else is pissed off or someone's
Anytime someone starts a sentence with "I think" or "I feel,"
Yeah.
you have to discount it right away because it's just dribbled and they're not basing it on fact.
Or I've been in real estate for 35 years and
Oh,
Yeah, that's another one.
With the housekeeping app, now they all become experts, right?
Yeah.
All your clients now, this is what the housekeeping is gathering that I had to do.
well, they answer the phone, but it's rotary dial. Make being learning based the foundation of your action plan. I guess I could skip past this other one. The 6 personal perspectives. Commit to self-mastery, being the best that you can be. Commit to the 80-20 principle, the Pareto principle. It applies in so many different ways. Basically, does anyone not know kind of the 80-20 rule in general?
I think it's 90-10 now. I just want to throw that out there.
I think in real estate it can be like a 5-95, depending on what it is. If it's talking about like volume of work. Move from E to P. I forget what the E to P is. Yes, sir. Okay. Say it again.
Entrepreneurial to purpose.
Entrepreneurial to purposeful. Make being learning based the foundation of your action plan. Remove your limiting beliefs and be accountable. Those last 2 are very, they're a lifelong process. Everyone's got limiting beliefs usually. I don't have very many, but which can also make me obnoxious. Yeah. Yeah, it's that guy who's like, I should get picked first in gym class for sure. Oh, they picked that really athletic guy. Why? Why? I'm awesome. So sometimes your limiting beliefs, there's some limits you should have. Does anyone struggle here with like a voice in your head, whether yeah, okay. So you should take bold if you haven't signed up already. Okay,
My rubber arm is very twisted, so.
okay,
Oh, you person to it.
okay. If you've got kind of a whisper on your shoulder, or you've got something in the back of your head that says you can't do something, and there's not a really good reason for it, I get it if it's like, you can't do the Boston Marathon. If you've never got it, if you've never ran, you shouldn't sign up for the Boston Marathon tomorrow. But if there's something that's just there, like, you have to get that monkey off your back one way or the other. And some of that comes with accountability, with somebody who's going to encourage you on those things and know that you're working at those things. Because again, let's use the same analogy. You're not going to be ready for the Boston Marathon if basically your habit is coffee and a donut, followed by another donut, have a nap, donut. Did I mention donuts? You know, like, you're going to have to start walking, then you're going to have to start running, then you're going to have to get really good at running. And then you have to rest a lot. You have to run more and then qualify. You know, it's going to take a while. And you need accountability for anything like that. So I would encourage Bold. Sarah's already brought it up. I will not be at this upcoming Bold session, but it's not because I don't want to do it. And I drive further than anybody in our office to be part of Bold. Drive down every day. So, and accountability. If you are not, most people are not in like a work partnership. Some people are on teams that are in the room. Put up your hand if you're on a team. Wow.
Does schizophrenic count? Because I'm schizophrenic.
No.
We want to in here.
No, because it's still who's the team lead, Dan?
I don't know.
But if you can find someone, whether they're in the office, I mean, they don't have to be in our office, but it would be good if they kind of understand some of these concepts that you can bounce some stuff off of, you know. Even if they have to be on the other side of town, or if they're on a team that's if you need to talk to someone on the Lindenite team, for example, or maybe it's not a good example, but maybe it's someone on my team because they would never compete with you, right, or something like that. If you're concerned about things like that. But you need to be able to call somebody when you want to talk about some of this real estate type stuff, or if it's just a personality thing or a nutrition thing or a physical thing, you may need accountability. Very few people can function without some accountability. They certainly won't be the best selves that they can be if they don't have someone that's pushing them a little bit. So there's a whole in KWEx, there's a whole other layer of coaching and other things like that some people, to get to another level, they just need someone to encourage them, sometimes kick them in the pants. I have fought getting coaching for a long time. I probably will end up with coaching at some point in the next couple of years, but I need to actually apply what I already know. That's what I've found and that's what coaching often is. It's just doing what you know you should already do. And someone calling you about it and saying, "Hey, Dave, did you make that call today? Did you have that conversation? Did you go to the gym? Did you apologize to your wife for being an ass?" You know, whatever it might be, like whatever it might be that they're aware of and they know you should do and you haven't done it. Like, everyone needs accountability. I personally do have accountability, like in not with a business coach, but I have a group of 3 guys in my life that we meet all the time. One of them is this guy Tony, who told me he wouldn't work with me. But they all have successful businesses and similar age and stage, and we all like a good breakfast on a Thursday morning. So we have some accountability, and it's important for me that I can talk to people about real problems when they're there. And if there's not a lot of problems, you can talk about all the other fun stuff. I feel like we need to get through some things here, so help me out. Make being learning-based the foundation of your action plan. Ignorance-based versus learning-based. Like, nobody wants to be ignorance-based. Ostrich, head in the sand, you know? Nobody wants that. Learning-based is, I know what I know, and there is more to know. As soon as you start feeling like you're a big deal, or you really know most of it, that you can be sure you don't. And it's amazing how the most foolish people think that they know the most. You ever watch the Street Fighter versus Ultimate Fighter type videos on YouTube? Maybe it's not. That was on my YouTube video. But some drunk guy who likes to punch people in bars does it with the wrong guy, and they get in a lot of trouble. You know, like, that person doesn't know what he doesn't know, right? Opportunities in down markets, charge the storm, beat the buffalo. I don't know what that means. Charge the storm?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's another Gary Keller.
Yeah?
I mean, that's, yeah, it was a recent phenomenon where they figured out that buffalo, that they do when the storm comes.
Oh, they run through it.
They run
Okay,
through it.
okay.
So they want that mentality set when they see trouble.
That's
coming, when they
helpful
see something
because
coming.
I'm just thinking of lightning hitting a cow.
Yeah.
Okay, gain market share during a shift, the long equilibrium and market share. I am all about number 2 right now. So we do have some money in the bank. I have good momentum. Like we are building while I know there's people in our market that are not doing well, that just have not done well. So we're in a wonderful position, but that has not come from a lack of work for the last 7 years. So I know we will come out of the shift whenever the shift is finished with more market share than we went in.
So we talked about threat and opportunity.
Yeah,
earlier.
it's an opportunity.
Exactly what it is. Some people are threatened by the change or the shift but there's an opportunity there to go out and help someone out, maybe recruit someone to your team or get more business if you're in the business mode.
So the law of equilibrium is really about agents coming and going. The amount of agents that signed up from 2016 to all the way through COVID was bonkers. Easy money, easy money. That's what they thought. But a lot of them will disappear. The ones who only worked during that 3-year period, they will not know what to do. Well, I shouldn't say they won't. If they are not learning based and they are not going to shift with the market, they're gonna have a very hard time. And they're gonna be saying, well, why my phone isn't ringing? Well, no, it's not ringing because the buyers aren't there anymore. You know, you need to find them. They're not just gonna find you necessarily, right? But when income goes up, agents increase, right? And income goes down, agents decrease. This is like total income in the entire market for realtors. Same thing with businesses, like these businesses that pop up to support real estate or to discount real estate or to have these aggregate discount businesses. Those ones are not going to do well either in the shift. So there'll be some people that do list for discount brokerages, but they can't survive. They won't have any profits. They won't have enough business. And they were getting killed in the COVID market too, because they couldn't respond quickly with buyers. Yeah. And the listings were going so fast, they were not managing multiple offer nights very well at all. You ever dealt with Property Guys or other companies like that when they were trying to orchestrate bidding wars? It was a joke. Like they did not know what they're doing, and they're not working at night. Like it's like they're just not there, you know. So that's my experience anyway.
Yeah. And it is a service to their clients.
Absolutely, well, but their clients are looking for a discount, so they get a subpar experience, right? I got some of the best deals for my buyers during COVID with like off market and like discount realtors who did not care one bit about their clients. They just wanted to sell those places. And a lot of realtors wouldn't show those properties. So even though they should, a lot of them won't. Opportunity time. Hold your numbers steady and your market share grows. As the market shrinks, if you can hold your numbers pretty close, you will have a much higher percentage. That is math.
I like that.
Yeah.
Well, it's like if you're generally doing 10 deals a year.
Yep.
Or a deal a month.
Yep.
And you keep doing that even though.
Yep.
Like, so now that's a higher percentage.
Mhm.
You're now doing more in a lower market.
I looked at the numbers at one point in time and we were down 40%.
Yeah.
In number of transactions. And I looked at Peggy and Ferris and they were down close to that 40%. But I think a lot of them came from if we had 1,800 realtors, now we have 1,000. There's 800 that are gone. We're doing one or two, or one or none. And they're all gone.
Yeah, I looked at it in 2021. So when you're in it, I'm not as analytical while I'm in it. It's at the end of the year, I'm like, okay, and then kind of look back, right? But I remember, so in 2021, I had the most listings I've ever had, like a lot of listings. But it was almost exactly the percentage increase for the board. So I rode the wave and had my share did increase somewhat when a lot of people just weren't getting anything. We know that not everyone did thrive during COVID. Like there's a lot of people who lost their businesses or quit. And all my home inspectors quit.
Yeah.
For different reasons.
Or they got real estate licenses.
What's that?
Or they got real estate.
Some of them did. It's a different business. I am not concerned about that. That's just me. I'm not concerned about someone transferring from home inspection. Are they going to want to do their own home inspections? Because that's a bit of a problem. Yeah, they will be miserable for the home inspectors that they hire too. Listen, let me tell you how I used to do it. Hold your market share and your numbers grow. And if you don't have any market share or a percentage market share right now, it's only up. You can only go up with your market share. You don't have to worry about your previous year's statistics if you're that kind of person. Your first year is your first year. So some people have a very profitable first year in real estate. Almost nobody does. Almost nobody can make a living in their first year of real estate. Put up your hand if you were able to make a good living in your first year of real estate. Yeah.
Basically paid her.
Yeah. What's that?
Basically paid her.
So I was able to, but not only my first full year. And I was told it was very unusual. And I'm just like, I just put my head down because I was scared out of my mind. Like every single lead I chased all over God's green earth. Yeah. And that worked out, but I was driven as a dad with kids, and I had been let go from a sales job because I told my boss I was getting into real estate within 2 years. He gave my job to his nephew, who was a classic family failure. But he said I could take the job. He said you've done everything I've ever wanted you to do. You've hit all your targets and beyond. I'm giving your job to Josh. And I said, what? I'm just gonna have another year. He said, well, I knew you're leaving eventually, so he had to come back. I didn't want to fire the other guy because he's staying. So thanks, right? So I got pushed into the pool. This is why I started in the middle of 2016 and pushed into the pool in the deep end. And it was like fight or flight. And I decided to fight.
That was hot and heavy multiple offers that year. Really.
Not Muskoka,
No,
but no.
2016 here.
Yeah. So we didn't actually have any multiple offers till late 2017 when people started fleeing what was happening further south.
Right.
When the money started moving north to where it was cheaper, and then we had multiple offers, and they were all from people from further south who were behaving the way they had been trained down here. I remember my first 2 listings. The second one, there was there were multiples on it, and the couple I was working with, they're like, someone's gonna buy this like 2 days after it went on the market. I'm like, yes, and this is how we're gonna handle it, and I just had to kind of roll with it. But that was a new thing. Like Muskoka had no multiple offers, except on like some like Muskoka, like Rosso, like Joseph, like some really where very wealthy people were fighting over their jewel. Yeah. So there was no multiples before that. Activity, what does that mean?
Are we supposed to do so?
Any more uh-hus? Uh-huh.
I really like that slide that said if you stay even when it rises, you'll rise with the tide.
Yeah.
That was.
Yeah, that's right. You don't have to,
I hadn't thought of it.
yeah, your numbers don't have to gain if the market is lower, right? You can be close even.
Yeah.
You can hold it. Okay. This is the action part. What must be done right? What must be done now? If you can think of something, write it down or text it to yourself or email yourself so you can search it. What must be done right? And what must be done now?
Can I just even provide a couple examples?
Yeah, you can. Sure.
So, client follow-up, lead follow-up. Staying in touch with your past clients, your potentials, if they're just not moving right now, the timing's not right, that's the market. But if you forget about them because they're not moving anyway.
Yep.
When it's time, it's not you.
Yeah.
It's someone else who's been keeping in touch with them. And so I think lead gen.
So doing that right?
Doing that right.
And doing it now.
Consistently doing it now, absolutely.
If you don't have a database, who actually uses a database? I know we all have access to one. Okay. It's okay to admit it if you haven't. I have someone on my team who barely uses a database, but it reflects in the results. If you don't have a database, use command. If you can't handle command, I'm not going to argue about that. Use something else that you actually are able to follow up with. Keep track of all the people that you know well. And
Sarah has a really good example.
Go ahead.
No, I'm not doing that right now, but I will help anybody who is unsure about how to use command.
Good.
To use command, so please, either anybody who isn't using.
My
it-
team actively uses command and we use it a lot. And there are some quirks and problems with it, but it is still an excellent, it's not just an excellent tool, it's an excellent system.
And it's free. so-
It's included with your fees. And
Oh, yeah.
yes, it's included with your fees.
Sorry.
Free, really?
No, it's included.
But it is super powerful and most people do not use it even to 10% of what you can do with it. And you've got to put your paperwork in it anyway. So if you're going to be in command one way or the other, you might as well use the features that make you money instead of giving you headaches, right?
If anybody wants a one-on-one to get started on that, reach out and we can set that up.
But if you don't have a database, make one, put every single person that you know in it. If you're new, every single person that would recognize either your name or your face. That's my advice. Part of the success I had in the first couple of years, I came in with a huge database of people I had met. They weren't on friends and family, most of them. I had met them. And maybe half of them would have remembered when I interacted with them. Some of them, I took my database from a previous job without permission. I took it and I put it in, and then everyone was like, "Why do you have this? Why do you have my name?" I just deleted them. I'm like, "I'm sorry." Click. That was it. There you go. BOR. Oh, that was back in the Wild West days.
If you could remember, I wish Heather was here, she could do the actions, but build a database, feed it every day, and communicate it with it in a systematic, regular way.
It's like a new baby. If she was here, I'd say, "Heather, this is like your new baby.
Yeah.
You're building it."
Yeah, her song is really good.
Yeah.
She has a song.
She does. She does.
Where is Heather? I want to hear the song. Heather, go get her.
He's gonna hate you. She did this at
Yeah, ski.
they put her up front at an ALC conference and they made the MCA students.
Really? Okay, I'm gonna.
I mean, it was the same words that you used. She just does it in like
Way more animated.
She.
I'm just being reserved like we get her.
Do you want
If
to
she
sing
won't
it?
come,
Here's John's.
I'm gonna get a smack.
Heather, we heard you have a song.
It's not my song. I
Well,
can't
we
take
heard you
credit
can
for
sing
it.
a song.
Again. Oh, great, there's people online too, aren't there?
I don't know if they're there actually, but
Is
is anyone still
I didn't
there?
write it, so I can't take credit for it. Gary does. He's like, I have a video of you doing this like 20 years ago. Okay,
Okay,
the importance of a database. Build a database, feed it every day, communicate with it in a systematic way, and service all the leads that come my way. And
There you go. Oh.
my success in real estate is in direct proportion to the number of people that when they think of real estate, they think of me.
That's really good.
oh, very nice.
Those are the rules of the road. Okay?
Now, anybody want to
And-
I
check
didn't
out-
sing it though. I don't
I would
need
like
to.
it to the tune of Stair Bring It Up.
You're gonna play the guitar part?
Would you like?
Good second keys? Yeah, I just-
Thank you.
I don't know how you sing that part, but those are
If
the
we did have a recording, you
the
could
rules
just
of the
do
road.
it. Instead of interrupting.
The rules are, I don't know the Y4C2Ts part because there's like things to it. I don't know what, but There you go.
Very
So
nice.
Remember those two things, database and people need to know you are in real estate. And then when they think of real estate, they think,
Yeah.
have a database, use it, feed it, communicate with it.
And if you don't like talking about yourself, you need to get over that. Because you can flip it into a conversation. You can be careful about how you mention it, but it is not. People love talking about real estate. They love it. It's annoying. That's what I don't like about. Why? I don't like going to a party or something, and if they know I'm a realtor, yeah, they just want to talk about the market. How's the market doing?
I get it. I'm like, well, I don't even sell, but I get the question all the time. How's it going? This and that, blah, blah. I'm like, well, it's really out there. I see the after.
But I don't say that I
see the
hate it. I
deal
talk.
part of the, I see the results of the out there. So, or and then what I hear. So here's what I hear.
Yeah. Well, I immediately say to them about the market. Are you thinking about buying or selling?
Well, they're not mine.
And they're like, no, but my cousin is. I'm like, I'd love to talk to your cousin about this. Otherwise, let's have a meeting. And then we can talk.
Yeah.
So, Sarah, should we take like a break or?
Yeah, I would say if you want to do 5 more minutes and then take a break at noon, if everyone wants 15 minutes or so, or if they would like to keep on powering through, we can do that too. Up to date.
Wow. Yeah.
There's
Okay.
a lot to get through.
There is.
I'm
We're not gonna
sure,
get through all
you know,
of it.
So you can
And-
flip through stuff that you're just like,
Okay, so these are things you can do, tracking your numbers, whether they're your numbers or the office's numbers. There is, what I would summarize is basically, no matter how many appointments you have, especially if you're new in the business, no matter whether you have appointments, you can create appointments where you're gonna go out and look at houses. You can do agent previews, you can go see listings. You don't have to have a client to go see something. Now, you don't want to be annoying about that, and every time you go, you never have somebody with you. And I think you should call it an agent preview, not pretend it's a showing. But leave your card, get to know what the properties are like, and then when you are talking to somebody, you've been in that house. So there's no reason to do nothing in your day unless you're actually taking a day for a break. But you can know what's going on in the market. Like that's actually a weakness of mine, but I have some people helping me with new listings and what's going on currently, what's gone pending. Like, so I have a couple people that will say, hey, this place sold for this. Like I am on Matrix and look at the listings usually twice a day, like first thing, and then maybe later day. But like I get a lot of people that call and they're like, hey, how about that new place that came up? I'm like, yeah, how about it?
The one you just sent me.
Yeah, oh yeah. You just sent me that one. It looks awesome. I'm like, great. Which one are you referring to? I'm like, well, you just sent one. I'm like, that's the right one. You know, you can roll with it. But I when I was less busy, I really was able to understand where things were at, because I'd be looking at the market all the time. I could look at the stats, the previous year's stats, get an idea of where things should be going based on last year. But then when you actually have some of your own numbers, if you've got active listings, depending on total closings, total showings, and average showings per listing, like this is good to know this stuff. Very few people will ask you for this information. I have found that. I was over prepared when I had my first listing appointments and working with buyers. It's more important to listen to them and what they want and what they're, listen to what the people are saying before you give them a giant spiel. But knowing the numbers, average days on market, average price, average days on market is really important to know in your own market, especially if you're having a listing appointment. And buyers sometimes want to know, like, how long has this been listed? And if you don't look at the history on it, you're just glancing at it. Oh, it's been 10 days on market. Oh, no, it's been 95 because they canceled and relisted.
There's some great tools there for that, right? They got Broker Bed. I don't know how
Yep.
effective it is up north, but you can track appointments and that'll be pre-indicators for trends.
Yep.
And what's coming. If you
Yep.
know showings and offers are way down, then you know that
Yep.
likely sales are going to follow their way down.
What did the Toronto agent told me they call it listing stalking or something. It's a broker beta. They do it on the board. And they're like, they want to see how many appointments the place is having. So they're just looking. And I said, well, in a very competitive market, I would often I'd fake block out appointments on certain places, like on the weekend. Fake block it off just because of you. She's like, oh, really? I'm like, yeah. I leave space in case you want to book a showing, but I don't want you to know there's nothing else booked on that. Oh. posting.
I love that. I've never done it.
Oh, absolutely. Do it for the sake of your client.
Yeah,
Like-
I've gone looking to see, like, some trying to tell me that they're so full, you know, you gotta bring your number up. Like, you gotta have the products, but I never thought about fake login or that.
Yeah, Yeah, and where I am, sometimes they don't book properly. Like they're not booking through Broker Bay or we always do it properly. But I know agents who they still don't even use the software. Like, hey, can you book?
Currently broken.
Oh, well,
Yeah,
Broken Bay.
Broken Bay.
I
Broken
can't
Bay,
use it. I can't book, I can't do feedback, I can't do anything.
So, yeah, well,
I had to call the office to book a showroom yesterday.
oh, really? Oh, you can't do it. Oh, the app isn't working.
I called last
They
week.
received feedback last night.
I can receive
That's
feedback and I
amazing.
get the confirmation, receive showroom confirmations, but I can't make an appointment, make a
And it's
change,
failed. It must fail.
make feedback, I can't do any of that. So I'm having to go old school, call me to the office, this sucks. Terrible.
Yeah, I don't want to call
It's
someone.
11 o'clock at night, I just wanna book it and go to bed, not have to.
We're so privileged now.
We are.
Remember that lineup of stuff of and you'd have to call each one and yes.
So I don't think I get evaluated. I'm not a real presenter.
But you
You
are.
just hid that so that you don't get a bad.
I think that this is the end of that,
I think so.
of course, and just, okay.
What is, Facts about a shift. Summary. Market shift. This is a way of thank you. Thank you for that summary. When the market shifts, new strategies are required. When markets shift up, both reactive and proactive lead generation techniques work. When markets shift down, only proactive works. Yeah, you won't be reacting to much if no one's, you've got to find a business instead of just dealing with what comes in. In a downshift, it's all hands on deck time. The issue is not so much the shift, but how long the lag the buyer's market continues before equilibrium is hit.
Yeah, you look at the market crapped out for 3 months.
Yep.
Big deal, really.
Mhm.
But if it's an 18-month or a 24-month,
Yeah, or if it's in the prime season,
just in, when you normally would be making your money, but now it's a really crappy spring.
Yeah.
And then you have the typical slower summer.
Yeah.
It's usually slow.
Yeah.
Then it can be hot.
Adopt a growth mindset based on the reality of your market. Embrace the opportunity of the market with the focus action. Get clarity to be the local expert. Know your numbers. Also, just know the city. You can know your numbers, but people really, especially with listings, they want to know that you understand their neighborhood. Not everyone thinks their neighborhood's the best, but especially with families, there's a reason why they're there. So it might be because it's the only thing they could afford, but sometimes this school is amazing, or there's a cool daycare over there, or it's really close to such and such or whatever. In my area, everyone, it's a joke with realtors in our areas that everyone thinks that their lake is the best lake. They all think it's the best lake. This is the best lake. Why? Well, it's got water, water and fish. You can swim in it, and you can boat. And I'm here all the time. They don't have a good reason for it, but everyone thinks their place is the best. Yeah. So, and sometimes neighborhoods too. Our neighborhood's the best, and my neighbors are the best. Well, you're moving. So if you're a great neighbor, maybe the next people are gonna stink. So, but be a local expert and do whatever that takes. And sometimes that's just getting to know, drive around.
We talked about agent previews.
Yeah.
If you want a listing presentation, go to 10 that are relatively high. So when you bring in comparables,
Totally.
how is in that one? Yours is better.
Yeah.
That one had way more.
That one smells like cat pee.
Yeah.
I actually told somebody that for the feedback this morning. They called me and they're like, do you have feedback for the house? And I was like, honestly, it showed really nice, but my clients were in and out because it smelled so badly of cat pee.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm sorry, but he's like, no, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
He
you.
was waiting for you to
So that I can talk to my client. I was like, yeah, blame it on me. Blame it on me for bringing it up. But it was bad enough that we were in and my clients were like, I can't. And we left.
I had one that smelled like stanky dog. And when I mentioned it, she said, I know, we brought in professional cleaners twice and it still smells like that. Oh, great. So basically gasoline and a match.
Like you have to clean it. Like you can't just clean the house, you have to clean the house and your dogs.
Yeah.
Like they have to go together. Yeah.
Those same sellers have a pregnant cow on the way. So that's a whole other story. I've never had a negotiation screwed up by a pregnant cow, but that happened. This is literally a cow, Dan. Not everyone will, but everyone can. Very philosophical. It's true. People are capable of many things, but most people will not do it. Okay, we are going to like.
Break.
Yeah, how long?
15 minutes.
15 minutes?
Sound good for everyone? Yeah, 20 minutes?
I won't be offended if you don't come back if you have things to do. But
20 minutes. 15 minutes? 20 minutes.
20 can actually go somewhere.
So everybody come back for, let's just do 12:30.
12:30. Yep.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll leave that. Okay, she's like, can you take me? And then I have, and I didn't have until 2 because at 3 o'clock. is the end of the day. We should have had pizza.
Oh my gosh, today's one.
We can order it and we'll come here right in time for us to start again.
Yeah.